Those of you who watch me routinely on CNN hopefully saw the interview that I conducted recently with Chris and Emily Norton. They are the co-authors of The 7 Longest Yards, our love story of pushing the limits while leaning on each other. And now the focus of a brand new movie, 7 Yards. It's a documentary film released by Virgil Films. All the information pertaining to the movie are now in my social media files. I hope that you'll watch it. I was so inspired to see this story, and it's a privilege for me to welcome to POTUS Chris Norton. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Michael, for having me.
I almost feel guilty for asking you to help me tell the story one more time, because through your work as a motivational speaker, through your work as a book author, now through the movie, you've told it so many times. But for a moment, let's go back to October 16 of 2010. You're at Luther College. Tell me about Luther College, just to help set the stage.
Yeah, it's a small liberal arts school in Northeast Iowa, Division III school, and had the opportunity to play college football. 18-year-old kid, just a freshman, and just super excited to try to make an impact, make a name for myself.
On a gorgeous day in Iowa, your folks are in the stands. You're on the kickoff team, correct, when it all happens?
Yeah, that's correct. So the play was simple. It's a mortar kick right, which is a short, high arching kick to the right side of the field. And I don't know why we didn't just call it kick right, because our kicker was so bad. Every kick was short and high arching. But anyway, I'm lined up on the right side of the field, so I knew I was going to be in on this play. And so the ball's kicked, and I sprint downfield as hard as I possibly can go. And I see this opening for me. And I know my instincts are telling me that ball carrier is going to come right through that hole. And so I meet him with full speed, full force, but I mistime my jump just by a split second. And so instead of getting my head in front of the ball carrier and colliding with my shoulder, my head hit right into his legs. And in an instant, I lose all feeling and movement from my neck down, and I can't get up off the field.
You just completely went limp, but you were conscious, right?
Yeah, completely conscious. It felt like a routine tackle. And at first, I'm just thinking, okay, it's a bad stinger where it's just kind of like a pinched nerve and you go numb and motionless just for a little bit. Then it comes back to you. But obviously, as time was going longer and longer, nothing was coming back. The fear inside of me just started to slowly grow. And then when they had to call in for a helicopter, that's when I knew that this is bad.
You said in the movie it felt as if someone just turned off the power.
Yeah, so I mean, you go from fully functioning, strong, independent athlete to all of a sudden nothing is working. Like I know how to move my arms and my legs. And when I'm telling it to move, like I've done for the first 18 years of my life, nothing happens. It doesn't respond. Like if you try turning your TV on, but it's not plugged into the power, nothing's happening. And that's kind of what I felt like on that football field.
You know, in the movie, I was interested to see, and I made notes. I think his name is Preston West, is the fellow who caught the, on the kickoff, caught the ball. He's the one with whom you made the collision, and it never fully explored later in the movie after we were introduced to him early on was any interaction that you may have had with him thereafter or through the years. I wondered as a viewer whether he walks around with some sense of guilt for the role that he played in this, which was obviously not deliberate on anybody's part.
Yeah, what was really special about the production team, Photolanthropy, who produced 7 Yards of film, they actually set up the meeting for me to meet Preston. I never met him or talked to him
Wow.
for 8 years. I never met or talked to him. And here's the thing, I never held him accountable. Like I never wondered like who was that guy that I was tackling. It was just a freak accident and something that, just a football play. I don't blame him, and I don't even blame myself. Like it was an accident. Accidents happen. And here's the thing that I learned from meeting Preston was that he was carrying a bit of weight, and that always kind of was in the back of his mind that that happened from, I mean, you could say from him. I don't like saying that, but just that he does carry that. And so he was able to kind of let that go and like, I think helped heal that burden that he was carrying from me, and to know that, you know, I love my life. If I could go back, I wouldn't change that play. I have found too many blessings as a result of my injury to ever take back at this moment, like starting a family, a nonprofit, to have this film come out right now to encourage so many people who are lost. So I couldn't take it back.
That's an amazing statement, that if somehow we could wind the clock back to October 16, 2010, and tell you you could sit out that kick return, Chris Norton is not taking that opportunity.
No, not at all. Like, I didn't choose this life. Don't get me wrong. Like, I did never planned on having any of this happen, but I believe this life was chosen for me and to be used to call others to find that courage in themselves, to persevere through their obstacles and challenges. Like, I found such great purpose as a motivational speaker and to just help others. And when you feel like you're making a difference in someone else's life, like, I don't think there's anything greater of a feeling. And to know also that my injury took me on this path to try to walk again. I thought that was the ultimate goal, that if I somehow could walk again, that everything would be better. But it led me to Florida, where I met my kids. We are foster and adoptive parents. So we started fostering and then we adopted. So it led this chain reaction of so many different things that I feel so blessed and fortunate.
It's interesting. You remind me of It's a Wonderful Life, and the particular scene. I don't know if you know the movie, where the Jimmy Stewart character is being spoken to by an angel whose name happens to be Clarence. And Jimmy Stewart, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you're a young guy, you need to watch this movie because it's right in your wheelhouse. And Clarence the angel is explaining to Jimmy Stewart what would have happened in his life had this one moment not gone the way that it had. And all of these people would have been impacted for the worse, which is what you're now expressing. Hey, I want to say something else. It seems like you were so fortunate that helicopter, that you were within a distance of being able to be transported to the Mayo Clinic, because I thought of so many other areas in the country where they would not have had the absolute best of medical care available to them. When you get to Mayo, you undergo surgery. Obviously, I'm not going to give away the whole story, but I want people to know this. You were told that there was a 3% chance that you would regain any mobility below the neck, correct?
That's correct. And that news was devastating. I just remember my life just kind of like this ringing feeling in my ear, like a Twilight Zone moment of like, is this real? Like, am I experiencing a nightmare? And will someone wake me up?
I also was taken with the fact that in that first 24 hours, you're obviously frightened. You've undergone this traumatic injury. And those of us who've had an MRI will certainly understand you explaining going into the machine and that wacky sound that it makes and how scared to death you are. But what happens in your case? I want people to hear this.
Yeah, so this is right before surgery. They want an MRI scan to make sure they have everything they know going into the surgery. And at this moment, I'm terrified. And my one request in the MRI was, can I please just fall asleep? Like, God, I'm begging you, can you just let me give me a break? And in this moment, you have that drill saw loud banging sound going on in that machine, just completely on edge. And the next thing I know, I'm being lowered out of the MRI machine. I'd fallen asleep for that 45 minutes to an hour period of time in that machine. And that moment gave me a sense that I wasn't alone in the situation, that, you know, I have God, the higher power there with me, and to just hold on to faith and not to fear. Because my whole experience, even 10 years later, you always juggle between faith and fear. And in that moment, just reminded me to choose faith.
It's a story of faith. It's a story of resilience. There are amazing sort of sidelines to it. The love that's shown toward you by your parents, and of course the role of Emily and what she played. You know, when I introduced the two of you on CNN, I want to clear the air about something. When I introduced your now wife, Emily, I began by saying, Emily, you're a saint. And what I meant by that was, Emily, frankly, Chris wouldn't have regained the ability to walk that he has without you. And some people interpreted this, and maybe because of my wording having been poor, but some people interpreted that as me saying, what a saint you are for marrying a guy with a disability, which was surely not what I intended. But I want to make clear that but for Emily, I don't know that you would have turned out the way that you have turned out. What are your thoughts on that?
You're 100% correct. Like Emily is by far the greatest trainer that I've ever had. Like she has pushed me so much, not just with my training though, but who I am today as a man and as a husband, as a father. Like she just gets the most out of you. And that's like such a special trait that she has. And so when she first met me 3 years after my injury, I told her about this goal. I want to walk across the stage of my college graduation. While this was my goal and dream, it became her goal and dream. And she came alongside me and pushed me and helped me really realize this dream that took 4.5 years in the making, something that, we thought was impossible. Had this giant walker that I was walking in, had leg braces. I had all these different things I needed help with. And Emily came alongside and really made it possible so that she could walk me across the graduation stage. And then that video went viral over 300 million times across the world. And so many times people are like, "Oh yeah, like I've seen that video. Like I know I know that video."
So the other group that I think there's so many who played a role in your success, who deserve a shout out, that I was really taken with, were your college buddies. I loved the line in the movie. It was something along the lines of, well, who hasn't shared the bed with Chris Norton? What is that a reference to?
Yeah, so in college, especially in that time period, like after my injury, I had these really bad leg spasms where my legs are kicking and like uncontrollably, and they'll kick myself off the bed, and I can't straighten them, or my arms will lock up, and I have my arms stuck on my face, and you just kind of get claustrophobic, and I need adjusted. So when my buddies started to do, they would sleep in the bed with me or on the floor right next to me and be there right away so I could call out to them so they could help me straighten out a leg, an arm, or fix something, pull up a blanket, whatever it could be that I couldn't do on my own. So they took that time every night to take turns to be there for me.
I mean, the level of compassion that they showed for you. You at that stage were incapable of doing so much, and yet you had the will to get back on that campus. But you never, Chris, could have functioned without their support, their constant support, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Like I had so many people come alongside me, strangers, these friends. My sister moved to the same college town so that she could help me out as well. Like who I am and where I am today was not possible without all these people. I'm so thankful that the film, 7 Yards, really captured that because so many times people get my perspective and what Chris has done, but it's not possible without all these different people coming alongside me to be there for me.
Again, I'm not giving everything away. I want people to watch the movie 7 Yards, but not only do you have that moment of being able, assisted by Emily, to walk and receive your college diploma, viewed by more than 300 million people, but the two of you then set a new goal, which was not only were you going to get married, but you wanted to be able with her to walk down the aisle. So we will make sure that they watch it so that they know exactly how that all ended up, because it's a beautiful story. But I want them to see it. I need to ask you about this. So the opening sequence of the movie is the football game. what I'm watching, am I seeing, for example, the real Luther College? Am I seeing the uniforms that were, how true to life was all that? And what was your role in the recreation of the football injury that left you paralyzed from the neck down?
Yeah, so that was beautifully done because they're using real football footage. They actually went to a Luther College Central game, captured the game because the cameras and everything that we had when I was playing in 2010 is just not the same. So they captured a real game. And then we got the football team, we got Central College jerseys. They gave us the jerseys, and we had some play ins where we then created the kickoff. So we just created simply the kickoff, but the other game footage, most of it is from a real game, a real college football game. So real hits, real referees, real fans, everything. And then on one special day, we got together with the football team and recreated this moment. We had a play in, so someone obviously is running for me, but then they set me up above the field where they kind of lifted me up just a little bit. And they dropped me onto the field to play me hitting the ground. So I was
Okay,
actually
so that
in
so
short
that
there.
is you. In other words, I'm seeing you hit the turf in the movie.
I am hitting the turf in the movie. We also did a couple other face shots with me in the helmet standing up. I had people holding me, standing me up in the background. You can't see them, obviously, movie magic, but a lot of the face shots and me even upright is all me. I'm actually there, but yeah, I'm hitting the ground. It was kind of fun to put the shoulder pads on, the helmet on, and to do that.
What did it feel like for you, given what had really happened on that day, October 16 of 2010? Did it spook you at all?
Well, going into it, I was like, yeah, no way it's going to spook me. Motivational speak. I say it all the time. I tell my story. But then when you're actually there, laying in that field with my family and the pads and everything, it just immediately brought me back to October 16th, 2010. It was spooky. It was eerie because all those feelings and emotions of knowing just how scared I was, just wondering what my life is going to turn into. Like, how horrible is this? Like, my life is over. Like, I literally thought like my life would be over if I couldn't walk and play sports. Like, that was everything to me. And to know though, I get through it, and you can get through it, gave me a peace though. So it didn't like rock me too much where I started crying or anything like that. But it was definitely a moment that really brought those emotions back.
A final thought, if I may, for Chris Norton. I heard from many people after having you with Emily on my CNN program, who were so inspired by your story. A very close friend of mine is a truly world renowned orthopedist, and he was watching. I was so glad that of all the people in my orbit, I was glad that he was watching, and he wanted to reach out and tell me just how touched he was with your story. And it made me realize the difficult position that he and other physicians are so often in, where they have to be the bearers of the bad news. You know, someone had to say, and thank God you disproved the 3%, but someone had to break that news to you. And I can't imagine you ever get used to sharing that sort of news. But here's the point that I wanted you to know. My friend, who has been in the position many times of being the speaker of such terrible news, said to me, I said to him, well, what do you do? What do you do when there's Chris Norton, who as an 18-year-old has had a spinal cord injury and you believe he'll never move again? He said, always I am telling them there's hope. Always I am telling them that there is hope. What is the message that you hope people will take away from your movie, 7 Yards, and your story?
Well, I hope that people find the courage in themselves to know that they can overcome the challenges and obstacles that they're up against right now. Because let's face it, the last year, we've all gone up against things that we never expected. And life is full of just unknowns and the uncertainty. And I've been through all of that. And I know that there's a way out, that you can get through that. So I hope people, by watching the film, they'll find that inspiration, that courage in themselves, that they too can overcome the challenges that they're up against.
Well, you inspire me, my friend. I am really, really taken with you and taken with your wife. The book is called The 7 Longest Yards, Our Love Story of Pushing the Limits While Leaning on Each Other. And the movie is called 7 Yards, distributed, released now by Virgil Films. Thank you so much. I wish you all good things, wish good things for your wife and all your kids, and hope our paths cross again.
I hope so too, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
That's Chris Norton, and I'm back right after this.